Okay, yeah. Alright. God, honestly, can I just be honest? For like a second, perhaps? And just like talk about something for a second? I'm getting kind of jaded and just like discouraged with like popular politics. Like your average like well, I was always kind of like jaded and disappointed with God, I keep saying like and Democrat versus Republican type mindset. Like that is just so poison to think about things just within the fucking conventional Overton window. It's so I hate that so much. Like that is not what we need to be thinking about. Is just, oh, are you a Democrat or a Republican? It's like fuck that. That's not what those are not the limits of politics. And okay, first thing that we need to clarify. Democrat and Republican does not mean liberal or conservative. Like that's not a 1-to-1 correlation. Also, liberal or conservative does not mean left or right wing. Both liberals and conservatives are right wing. Like just letting you know that. I fucking hate when people use the phrase more liberal to mean more leftist. I hate that. Because it's like, that's not the same thing. You need to stop fucking saying that. You fucking dumbass. That's not how it works. More liberal does not mean socialism. Like, if. God. It's just that whole rodeo, that whole circus, that whole political theater of like partisan politics and popular media and the like mainstream of the country that we live in is just fucking poison all around. There's a rot at its core. It's crazy. And they're not that different from each other. The quote unquote two sides are not that different from each other in those terms at all. It's like when it boils down to it, it's literally like the key major difference is the liberals are nicer to minorities and the conservatives are open about their bigotry. That's kind of how it works. We need to get you on a podium so you can shout that at crowd. Yeah, honestly, because it's so frustrating when you hear people talking like this, because it's just like, no, you're just wrong. And so like I'm getting kind of, want to hear something dumb? Yeah, sure. Fuel my fires even more. Anecdotal. I know people who were all ACAB and BLM in June. And those same people are now posting adulation for Kamala Harris on social media. Yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. It's like they didn't pay attention to the fucking primaries. It's literally like that. Like they just now got radicalized. That's probably the case. It's probably like a lot of young people who just got radicalized by like George Floyd. And they don't know any better. They're falling for the trick. They're becoming what the Republicans think the Democratic Party is and want you to think the Democratic Party is. It's take the grill pill for a while. I mean, the grill pill definitely has some merit as far as, like, just do something with your life outside of online politics. Put that energy into a project where you can do a thing instead of online politics. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, well, I mean, it's insane to watch as the public consciousness doesn't change. Like, nothing fundamentally changes. Gotta love GovTracker calling Kamala Harris the most liberal Congress. Yeah, the most liberal. It's like just right full circle back into that same problem again. The most liberal. God. And the methodology for those graphs that show her, like, far to the quote-unquote left, it's literally just the methodology is literally just like, oh, she voted with the Democratic Party often. It's like, yeah, the Democratic Party isn't leftist. What are you talking about? Voting with the Democrats most of the time doesn't make you left-wing. We need to broaden our scope. We need to broaden our minds and think beyond the parameters that they fucking want you to think in if you want to actually change anything. Yeah, very, very liberal with those marijuana sentences. Yeah, exactly. It was so liberal and girl boss of her to fucking prosecute truant parents because their kids didn't go to school. So she was literally going to put parents in jail because their children were skipping school. Like, whoa. Yeah. How very liberal are you? Damn. Queen. Yas, Queen. Kamala Harris. Never mind that she isn't for Medicare for all. Yeah, exactly. Trying to block evidence in appeals cases? That doesn't surprise me at all. Oh yeah, the liberal totem of quote unquote getting things done. Yeah. Liberal effectiveness. I got things done. I built the cages. I did it. I did a thing. We bombed Iraq. Got things done. Fucking shot a missile at a Yemeni wedding yesterday. I did things. I know how to get things done. We really do live in hell, don't we? Yeah, sometimes not. Yeah, some things you shouldn't do. Some things it's okay to not get done. In my opinion, anyway. When I said that both parties are first and foremost capitalist parties is a good simplification of the problem. Yeah. That's really it. Like, it's not like they're the same. It's just that they're both part of the same capitalist apparatus of power. That's... You say that, and you have it all right there. Bourgeois parties. Well, they both have bourgeois interests, or else they wouldn't be bourgeois parties. Look at who donates to... Right. But all those people are rich millionaire donors and corporations. It's just which ones. And you know what? The centrists... The dipshit centrists are really who piss me off the most. Because it's like, they're the people who will say, oh, disunity and polarization are the greatest problems of our age, and that's what's wrong with the country. People don't know how to talk to each other. People don't know how to work together. But it's like you're not seeing the fact that there is bipartisanship, and that bipartisanship is imperialist and brutal capitalism and neoliberal governance. It's the same bipartisanship that denied people a second stimulus package. Both parties did that. It's the same bipartisanship that got us into every single foreign entanglement that we're still in today. It's the same shit. That's bipartisan. They do get along to fuck us more. Right, just work with people who don't agree with a fundamental trait of my identity. Yeah, I just gotta suck it up and fucking come together with them. I gotta coexist with people who think that I'm a deranged pervert. Yeah. Yeah, Shell Oil is bipartisan in their donations. The oil companies are true centrist heroes. They really know how to unify. Fracking versus big oil. Well, Biden isn't going to stop fracking. He's supposedly going to remove subsidies, but hopefully that actually happens. And even then, that's just a step to big action that is necessary to stop the ecological crisis that's impending upon us. But, you know, like, a bad effect of this shitty situation we're in is it causes people to take the black pill and be jaded and tune out and just do nothing. They just give up because they see, holy shit, we have a fucking mountain to climb. We have a fucking ditch to dig that's fucking made of concrete that's hardening. It's nigh impossible, it seems, to fix our problems, to fix our system. Because the people who are supposedly supposed to be looking out for us don't even want to fucking do that. They don't want to change shit. They don't want to change the system. You go up to your average Democratic representative and you ask them about changing the system in any fundamental way, they'll look at you like you're fucking insane. They will. They'll treat you like you're a maniac for questioning the actual powers that be. Yeah, listen to science is literally just like a cult of smartness dog whistle. I mean, I don't like scientism as an ideology either, of just like, oh, yeah, everything that science gives us is real and true, and science is our new god. And we must, if something can't be verified by scientific consensus, it can't be verified at all. It's like, that is a cult mentality, in my opinion. But how do I do on this fair Wednesday evening? I'm ranting. I'm having a short stream. I'm going to be doing a college radio show in about 34 minutes. So I'm just on air on Twitch before that, because I felt the need to get on the internet and talk. No, I have a radio show on campus that I do from time to time. Science changes too. It's not static. We figure out what was wrong and make adjustments. The blind faith rhetoric is done. Yeah. That's the whole point of a scientific method, is to develop our knowledge, not get stuck in some consensus. The whole point is to move on and disprove yourself. But the point of my saying that is that the people who say like, oh, I believe science, don't actually believe in doing like the big collective systemic measures that need to be taken to actually solve this fucking ecological crisis. They don't want to do that because they think it's unfeasible. They think it's unrealistic. Green New Deal is too expensive, etc. We live in stupid times. People say we live in like crazy times or like confusing times. I just think we live in stupid fucking times. That's my observation. We live in deeply ideological times. If you want to get theoretical about that. There's a fly in here. But yeah, everybody is sort of like, here's, one thing that I don't like as well about like online politics. I'm thinking about how I can do like more content about this idea and this concept. But basically just the fact that like the online political landscape is a commodified arena of brands, basically, and your ideology is your brand, and you just kind of brand yourself, and if you have all the right opinions according to that ideology in that little social clique, or that sort of little parasocial clique, since you're not actually face-to-face interacting with anybody, you're just texting each other over the internet, you will gain some form of social capital within that group. And then you sort of ascend those ranks. Meanwhile, as this is happening, as the numbers on your account go up, the numbers in the bank accounts of Google and all of the big tech companies are also going up. So you're increasing their literal capital as you stay engaged on their platforms. Because we have to remember the fact that, like, these are not actual true common spaces on the internet. These are fucking corporate-owned, monopoly-owned arenas that they give us and sell us, basically, to use in order to increase their profits. And I remember Yanis Varoufakis said something about, like, a people's dividend based on the data that we generate for these tech companies, because it's literally our money, because we're literally the ones using it to make it. But then it just gets accumulated in fucking Google and Amazon's pockets. And I thought that idea for like a universal basic income measure based on that was really compelling. Because it's like... It's like... we would actually be getting money back for shit that we're doing. Like, we would be getting the capital back that we're generating for them. And so, like, the fundamental Marxist dynamic of exploitation of labor is actually extended further than just your job now. It's also social media as well. And if social media is your job, then that's just, like, twofold. You're twofold exploited in that position. No matter how rich you are off Patreon as well, like... People complaining about, like, oh, ContraPoints is petty bourgeois just because she has, like, a high bank account balance. It's like, no, that's not how class works. You can be a rich proletarian, in a sense. Like, especially today. Everything is fucking ideologically blended up and confused today. And I try my hardest to kind of, like, offer some kind of clarity of vision in these sort of fucking stupid times that we live in. But yeah, online politics is so deeply branded and so like it's so deeply not political as well. It's like it's virtual social clubs that generate capital for the richest people in society. And when we generate these opinions, because it's like a game of who can have the purest level of opinion. You know what I mean? Would actors and pro athletes be an example of the... Yes, precisely. Precisely my point. Because the people who actually get rich off of those workers' labor are the people who own the teams and the people who own the fucking television companies, which are stacked on top of each other in conglomerate monopolies in the first place. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Lynn. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The political space online has its purpose. There needs to be a building of power with the working class. Exactly. Like, in a real sense. Like, not just in a virtual sense. Because at the end of the day, that's co-opted by default by the nature of the medium. And the fact that it's owned by somebody who's not any of us, but is somebody who's sitting on top of society, looking down at us. And the problem with the even the ideological discourse and the ideological cliques is that those opinions that we refine into like pure weapons are just used as just to club each other over the head with them, instead of using them to actually apply to a material situation in some kind of analysis to actually do something about these problems. And so, like, I think this all sort of ties back around to, like, why I have been sort of discouraged about the current state of Vosh's channel. Because it's like, he's just becoming like a... It's not even what I said before of, like, an anarchist defense unit for the Democratic Party. It's literally, like... He's just becoming like political theater. You know what I mean? Like he's just it's literally like let's just look at Vosh's most recent content for a second. If YouTube will allow us to do that. YouTube has been glitching out today. Yeah, it's all just political theater in the electoral mode. Trump simps, televangelists can't face the fact that Trump lost. Crystal Ball is still downplaying the Trump coup. Trump voter fraud conference. Something about criticizing the Democrats the right way, which I guess is alright. Mocking the quartering for voting for Trump, MAGA Cope compilation, which has some cringy suicide memes in it, by the way. I'm sorry, I don't want Trump supporters to kill themselves. I don't want anybody to kill themselves. I apologize for not being this vicious fucking moralizer, fundamentalist on the left who thinks that, like, I'm part of a religion and the infidels must die. Like, I'm sorry, I actually take politics seriously. Who voted for Trump and why? Joe Biden victory speech. Debunking voter fraud allegations. Joe Biden wins. Joe Biden wins. Mocking Trump. It's political theater now. It's just... It's political theater now, and it's... I need to, like, crystallize what I mean by that, though. I need to, like... elaborate, I think. Because Roadcone will get all pissy about it because he's such a big Vosh fan. Um, criticizing the Dems the right way videos, Vosh saying you have to handle the Dems with kid gloves so as not to alienate liberals. His analysis is nonsensical and he's a lib. Look, I hope he's not a lib. I hope he's still some modicum of socialist, even if it's not anarcho-communist as he used to proclaim himself to be when I started getting interested in him. But, like, this political theater game of the Dems versus the Repubs is something that we should break out of. That's my position. It's something that we should break out of. That whole mindset of it's just Democrats and Republicans and it's just libs and conservatives is something that we should break out of. We should think outside of the terms that are imposed upon us. We should actually be radicals. Radicalism is not a negative thing. Radicalism is a positive fucking thing. Especially when you live in a society that we all know is fucked up. We all know that. So why give in to their frameworks? I don't understand. Like, literally, think outside the boxes. That's the starting point for me. To having any sort of, like, real radical political project is thinking outside the boxes that they give you to think in. And I'm sick. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of the fucking... of what you're talking about right now, David, with the toning down the rhetoric thing. Like, here's the problem. If Vosh is really saying we need to handle the Democrats with kid gloves, you know what I mean? Then his whole premise about pushing Joe Biden to the left holds no water at all. Because how the fuck are you going to push somebody with kid gloves on? We're going to push Joe Biden to the left with kid gloves on. Good luck. Good luck to you. If you think that Biden is actually going to be pushed to the left by anything other than a fucking mass block of actual socialists who are offering him demands that he must meet, which that type of organization doesn't exist in this country right now, that type of union organization particularly, union membership goes down like every year steadily. Just socialist organization is suffering right because we're so ideologically wrapped in the status quo and its terms. That's the only thing that could push Biden to the left and make him some kind of new FDR. That's what pushed FDR to the left to do the New Deal. That's what did that. Communism. Actual fucking socialists with demands that he had to capitulate to. That's what creates leftist policy in America. We don't have that right now. Posting a video about how we should be nice to Nancy Pelosi is not going to push Joe Biden to the fucking left at all. I'm sorry. Vosh didn't get into politics 2 years ago. Vosh was like he was like the head of the sociology, like, or something like he's like a sociology major. He was like a head of a club in college that did like protesting and organizing and stuff. He's been in politics for a while. It's just literally this recently that he's taken this like quasi-liberal electoralist turn, I mean. Yeah, it's not that he's new, and it's not that he doesn't understand the landscape. I just think he has different influences now, and he has an incentive to make this type of content now. Because, like, this is all correlating with a rise in Vosh's popularity. And I hope what ends up happening is, like, in a couple months, when he gets over the fucking Joe Biden ejaculation, he will actually, like, start making content about communism and anarchism again, and start radicalizing these new young left liberal followers that he's amassed in the recent months. I hope that's what happens. I hope that's his, like, long-term plan. Because otherwise, it's like, I'm just going to stop watching Vosh. Because it's like, there's no reason for me to engage in this fucking political theater with this. Yeah, but if he notices it doesn't get him clicks and views, probably not. No way YouTube will bury those videos via its moderation and algorithm system. Well, see, that incentive structure, in my opinion, is literally Vosh as a worker being subsumed ideologically into capitalism and becoming co-opted as a product. That's what's happening with that. Capitulating to the market and being co-opted as a commodity, which is what he says he wants to get rid of. He said he wants to abolish the commodity form as part of, like, a socialist project. He's that kind of communist, like me. But he's just allowing himself to be commodified. Literally allowing himself to be commodified. I promise you guys, I promise you right now, I will never, unless it's a genuine ideological turn that I would take for some fucking reason to become, like, a liberal or some shit, which, I mean, I don't see that happening in my future, to be honest. I think I'm just going to get more solidified in my radicalism. But, like, I'm never going to tone down the rhetoric. Because I just don't give a shit. I have my own value system. It's not the value system of the status quo. It's not the value system of money and the market and commodities. It's the value system of what I call some form of communism. And broadly Marxist philosophies. And I'm going to stick with that. Hopefully I can get popular in spite of that. But even when I do, and even if I do end up making money off doing online political content, I'm not going to tone down the rhetoric. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to allow myself to be determined by market mechanisms. I apologize to all you fucking libs out there who seem to just want somebody to yell about Trump at you and validate all of your feelings about your Trump-supporting family or whatever, and just give you, like, catharsis about the fucking shitty situation we're in. Sorry. My goal is to change that shitty situation, not just become subsumed in it. That's how I think about this. That's how I'm thinking. That's where I'm at personally right now. And I think that's where my audience wants me to be honest, as far as I am reading you guys' sentiments. So far everything is working as far as I planned. Talk about things that actually threaten power. I mean, I've definitely talked about things that threaten cultural power in this country, like my trans horror video really fucking put the middle finger into cis heteronormative society and really called it out for what it is, in my opinion. But with things like imperialism and war, I've also made a video about that, but it is like, let's check my YouTube channel real quick. to see where that video got. I put a video out on the 4th of July that was like, are we proud of imperialism? Because I'm not. Yeah, it got a dislike and 26 views compared to my other, like, hundreds of views, more popular videos. Yeah. But, like, imperialism and war have always been important issues to me. Like, I think I've talked about before how, like, I was radicalized by music. So, like, listening to bands like System of a Down, which is one of my, like, favorite bands, who sing songs about U.S. war crimes and war and imperialism. Gave me a certain way of thinking about, like, the military-industrial complex and all of that. That's very critical of war itself. Because, like, my first initial emotional instinct towards that type of thing was literally, like, and still is, literally, like, why the fuck do we kill each other over fucking land and resources? Why doesn't everybody just own it in common? Communism is logical. It's intuitive. It just makes sense. Like, we could avoid all these fucking vast problems if we just fucking set up a better system. Rage Against the Machine had... yeah. Rage are like anarcho-syndicalists. But they do get co-opted. But even, like, fascist people listen to Rage Against the Machine. It's fucking crazy. It's like, dude, you're the machine. But, oh, yes, I need to make a video about this, too. It's really interesting how, like, conservatives think they're rebellious now. And, like, traditionalists and, like, Western chauvinists think that they're, like, punk rock and rebels and, like, cool and, like, anti-status quo and shit, but it's like, no, you are the machine. You are the status quo, dude. That's you. Rage against yourself. Rage against the beast within yourself, please. Rage against how the fucking status quo has colonized your minds, please. And expunge it out of yourself. Well, not even, like, punk in the form of music, but, like, punk in the form of an attitude. Like in my Proud Boys video, that girl who was like, I'm punk rock, and then she said a bunch of shit like, feminism is stupid, and we should respect men, and shit like that, and, like we should respect the president, and she was talking about how she supports Donald Trump, and then she said she's punk. It's like, no, you're literally the definition of a conformist. It's not punk. I'm sorry. You can't be a punk rocker and love the president. No, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the people who are literally conformists to call themselves rebels. That's a form of cognitive dissonance that I have yet to fully understand. Because it just doesn't make sense. They think that the establishment that they're supposed to be raging against is literally, like, quote-unquote political correctness. And, like, college campus shit. They think that that's what has power in this country. They're so fucking scared and threatened by critical theory about identity issues. Like... And what little modicum of actual gains these minority groups have gotten in our actually existing society as well. There's the power structure culturally, in the superstructural base, is very threatened by just a little push. It's very interesting to watch. It's very interesting to see. So I think that's where that sort of I'm the punk rock conformist attitude comes from. Partly is it comes from that sort of like conservative aggrievement syndrome of like, oh, we're under attack because traditional gender roles are being shaken a little bit. Oh no. It's like, fuck you. Get over it. You fucking babies. You're not oppressed just because I finally have some level of social recognition. God damn. Varg is not our guy. Varg is some sort of fascist. I also find this weird how, like, it seems like a lot of people on the left are also, like, longing for a totalitarian. I gotta make a video about that, too, because I think it's like a cope. It's an ideological cope, but